Okay, very good. Well, welcome everybody to our Parlor Car Chat for today. This is, of course, a program of the San Luis Obispo Railroad Museum. That's what this first slide is trying to remind you of. And also remind you that if you're in the mood to donate a little money to the museum, that would be fantastic. Obviously, now for practically a full year, I guess, we're coming up on the anniversary. They have not had been able to have any activities for, and therefore the related income for events and so on. So if you can throw them some bucks, that would be fantastic. And also, just to let you know, too, right on the home page, that left-hand picture of the parlor car on the Starlight, underneath there's a link called Details. Click on there and you can find out all the parlor car chats that are coming up, all the parlor car chats that have happened, and the ones that have happened were all recorded, and you can watch the the recorded version through that page. So that's that. If you need to connect with me or raise a question or make a comment or what have you, use the chat system for free conference call.com, which is the system we're using. I've turned off everybody else's microphones because if I don't, we generally get way too much noise in the background and it makes it hard to understand who is talking. So if you find the chat button, it's that circled looking thing. It'll either say chat or have that little emblem somewhere around your screen. Get to that chat system and you can type in a comment or a question, and hopefully I'll be watching that well enough as we go through here to accommodate whatever it is you are looking for. Okay, so today we're going to talk about speeders, railroad motor cars, the little maintenance of way, motorized maintenance of way vehicles that would typically take maintenance of way workers out onto the rails to fix things or do whatever they need to do. The 4 or 5 excursions that we're going to see today were all excursions by this organization, the Motorcar Operators West group, and the website address to find them is on the lower right there in the black area, and that link will also be on the Parlor Car Chat page under this chat, along with a number of other links that might be of interest to you. But they're a group of motor car speeder owners, operators, that get together and go on these excursions using railroads that are willing to host them. And it happens literally all over the country. If you want to find out all the ins and outs about joining them, going on excursions, etc., go to this website and you'll find out probably more than you ever wanted to know. So we're going to look at speeder excursions, all from this MOW group, that occurred on the Santa Maria Valley Railroad between the years 2008, during 2008, 9, and 2010. This was the first excursion that we're looking at here that occurred on the Santa Maria Valley Railroad, and it happened while the headquarters of the railroad was still downtown at the old depot building, which you see there in the back right of the picture, and La Condesa then, La Cuesta now, was there at the railroad. And in fact, here we are when everybody's kind of gotten their cars on the track, and we're having the safety briefing that happens before every outing of an excursion, and the leaders there are standing on the back end of La Condesa addressing the crowd, letting them know the ins and outs of what's going to happen on the runs that day, or at least that run. There's usually a safety briefing before every run, whether the run is all day or the run is just in the morning and another one at night. Every run will have a safety briefing like this. And here's a picture of the cars, motor cars departing the yard. And there in the back is a special one, that brown one, right there. It's an old Santa Maria Valley motor car, or big enough to be called a rail bus, actually. And we're going to talk about that for a few slides here. Here's how it was transported. It came up from San Diego. Oh gosh, I can't remember. I think we'll see the name later. The group that owns this now has had it for quite some time, and I've got some info about the history of this rail bus. It was built by Fairmont, which is a common name in motor car speeder builder. You see it all the time. There's all kinds of Fairmont motor cars that have been built over the years. The name comes from Fairmont, Minnesota, the name of the location. And it was built in 1932. And in 1932, actually, it was bought at brand new from Fairmont, came to the Santa Maria Valley Railroad for the unbelievably low price, or maybe at the time the unbelievable high price, of $1,685. There's a nice picture of the rail car or rail bus, and a very special cart that got refurbished right before this excursion by the Santa Maria Valley crew, and it towed that rail cart all day long. Here's a picture of them turning it. You don't get to see very well the turntable that's underneath it to help turn the car around on the rails, but you can see it still takes a little doing to get it to swing right and stay balanced and all that sort of thing. The trailer, by the way, is pretty authentic in the sense that the rail bus did, in fact, early on in Santa Maria Valley's life, haul produce from the fields back to a location where it might be whatever. So there was some goings on like that. Let's see, did I miss any? No. Okay, we're good. It retired, by the way, the rail bus retired completely from service in 1962, I think was the right year. And here's a shot of the interior of the Santa Maria Valley rail bus, number 9, by the way. That's what everyone refers to it as to this day. It was sold in '62 to the Valley Pipe and Salvage Company of Santa Maria for scrap, I think, but it obviously didn't get scrapped. Valley Pipe donated it not too many years later to the Pacific Southwest Railway Museum. That's what it is, PSRM, Pacific Southwest Railway Museum, in 1965. So that was only, what, 3 years, something around 3 years after it went out of service. There's a gives you an idea of how many it would hold. That's obviously the inside of the rail bus. 4 people down one side, 4 people down the other, and then the operator in this chair that's vacant right now in the lower right. So back to the excursion itself. Here there was some gathering done inside the depot building. So if you never saw the depot, Santa Maria Valley Depot building, when it was the office in the early years of the Santa Maria Valley after the Homoto family bought it, here's a picture of it. The offices were kind of in the back, and then that main room was used for displays and so on for people who came and visit. So here we go. Here's our first sort of close-up look. There's all kinds of speeders, which you'll see by the time we're done here. All makes and sizes, and covered and not covered, and hard covered and soft covered. The single-stroke jobs, the ones that had single-cylinder motors, was probably the most unusual in the sense that they got a lot of attention. And here's one generally, these have a very unique sound to them. Kind of like a steam locomotive has a very unique sound, or the steam locomotive whistle. Excuse me. They also tend to be a little bit more smoky, so they're always kind of fun to have around, at least for a while, until you got tired of either the smoke or that noise. Here's the controls inside one of them, one of the speeders. Again, all kinds of variations. You see all manner of transmissions and controls and how things are set up in the cart. 2-seaters, 4-seaters. The rail bus that we saw earlier with basically 8 or 10 seat was by far the largest among the largest that you see on these kinds of excursions. And there goes one of the speeders zooming by the strawberry fields somewhere along the Santa Maria Valley Railroad. It's running these speeders on these excursions is definitely a family-friendly event. And generally speaking, the people that you meet are kind of the salt of the earth people. It's really fun thing to do. Everybody's having a great time. And regardless of whether snags are hit along the way or somebody needs help or whatever, everybody's generally happy. It really is fun. I've probably spent over the years maybe 20 days on speeder excursions with this group. They've all been with this group, and either helping run the excursion, flagging crossings and so on, which we'll see here in a bit, or being a passenger on a speeder at the invitation of the owner. Either way, it's a fun experience. There's a kind of an interesting artsy shot of a speeder across a couple of full-size rail cars. Here's some of those salt of the earth people. Here's that speeder run. We're still in 2008 here. Shoot, where are we? I'm not sure. Betaravia branch, or maybe Stock Pat. I'm not sure. But on the west side of the railroad somewhere, with the speeders coming down in between those sidings where the rail cars are. These early, I think these speeder runs on the Santa Maria Valley had up to 40-some cars on it, anywhere from 20 to 40, depending on which run it was. So it was quite a lineup of people traveling around. Now this is probably almost at the other end of the extreme end of the Santa Maria Valley Railroad, the east end, downtown, where the Y is. These two yellow cars are on the east side of the Y, the curved part that runs underneath them, and then this is the east-west line that runs through town, main line. I mentioned flaggers. You can see flaggers. These speeders are generally set up so that they don't activate signals. So what that means is, or any crossings that they come along to, they are responsible for getting across safely, and usually that means they slow down, they stop, they flag each other from the cars. But when there's a big group of them going across a lot of crossings and so on, they generally set up on the ground flaggers along the way, and that's what the Santa Maria Valley Railroad and the Friends of the Santa Maria Railroad provided for most of these excursions. There's a shot of the early morning surfliner going by as I think I was just on the way to the railroad to get this day started. That's the lead car, by the way, going to the left or going south, and there's the locomotive on the back. Here we're setting on down in Betaravia. Set on is the term you might imagine where they bring in all the cars and they set them on the rails. And we'll see a little bit of how that's done. Most of them are trailered in, and then they just roll off the back end. right onto the rails, or at most they have to roll them across a little pavement to get to the rails. And also they go through inspections. Usually there's somebody from the organization, the MOW, that's responsible for making sure that everybody has their inspection reports, and they do some physical inspection at the time. And this is what's happening in this picture. And this picture, you can see that's quite a little checklist of what has to be in place, certificates or whatever, making sure there's seat belts, all kinds of things. Remember, we saw that, this is 2009 now, I think. We saw that safety briefing down at the old depot in 2008. Well, now here's another one of those safety briefings early on, an excursion down in Bed-Arabia. Back in the days when Amtrak cars were stored on the Santa Maria Valley. There was a look at the same safety briefing from through one of the motor cars. They're all connected by radio. This picture reminds me. You can see in the bottom there a radio set up so that they can all talk to each other. The head guy, the lead guy can keep an eye on the herd, so to speak. Or keep an ear on the herd, I guess would be better. It gives you an idea of the number of cars that could be present on some of these excursions. There's probably 20 cars in the picture, and then some that you can't even see because they're off to the right or to the left. And here's another happy-go-lucky gang tooling down the road. There's that red flag. If you don't notice that in other pictures that she's got in her hand, whenever the car slows down or is preparing to stop, they'll put that red flag out so that all the cars behind them know that the car is slowing down or coming to a stop at a crossing, that sort of thing. Here's one of the cars I must have been in for a ride out to Guadalupe, crossing the Green Canyon Trestle. And now all the way out at the yard near Guadalupe, running along some hopper cars, probably storage cars. There's a displayed red flag. Let's see, I need to check something here. No, we're good. Okay. I mentioned that they turn these things on the ground or with handles or with turntables. Here we're turning a car that doesn't have a turntable, it just has these handles. Well, maybe it has a turntable. A turntable comes down from in the middle of the car to touch the ground that you can lift them. Since they're not holding the car by these handles, I suspect that it is off the ground by the turntable, which is probably right there, or it's in the middle of the car. And then you just swing it around and go back the other way. This picture I included here because of the attraction. You can see the spectators along the route see a train of motor cars coming along. It's quite a sight, and will often attract a crowd if there's any people around to be attracted. If the car doesn't happen to have a turntable, there's a better picture, a clearer picture of the handles I was talking about. There's two at each end. There's those two, and then there's one of the ones on the front. You can't see the other. And they're not that heavy that two people, or if not two very strong people, 4 people can certainly pick it up and swing it around to go back the other direction. Here we are downtown. Looks like running the Air Base branch of Santa Maria Valley. couple of happy folks along the way. Oh, there's Carl in the background. He's no doubt helping. If I remember, he was often a switch thrower for the group, or helping flag, or one thing or another. He might have been just running too, for all I know. He would often have his guard down there for these runs too. And there's a view across the fields of the line of motor cars or speeders tooling down the San Maria Valley along a siding there with some storage cars. Same here. That's Betaravia in the background where those trees are, and looks like the car is coming towards us along the Betaravia branch. And here, obviously, down at the sugar mill at Betaravia, getting ready to head out. These excursions were usually at least a day long, if not 2 days long, over a weekend. And there would typically be a run in the morning and a run in the afternoon, which of course meant that there was a lunchtime available to enjoy a feed for all these folks. So the railroad and or the friends would make sure that that happened in some sort of nice manner. This is back out at, well, I'm not sure actually. I think it's back out at the yard in Guadalupe, but I'm not entirely sure. There's some more coming by. This is definitely the Betaravia branch. Those purple flowers in the background are a dead giveaway. Look, the view behind is to the southwest, roughly. There's a good example of an open motor car, totally open. No hard frame, not even a frame with soft sides. That puppy is open to the elements. And on cold mornings, that can be kind of chilly. There's a car coming across the Green Canyon trestle. There's Bill. Not quite sure where we are, maybe downtown in the warehouse kind of area. Oh yeah, we are downtown. This is part of the Y, turning the cars downtown. Also on the Y, this is the east leg of the Y. Some of those flags, both the car flag on the right and the flagger flag on the left. Another open car. Oh yeah, and this was the year that the folks who came up for the day or two of running on the railroad all took another day or half a day to go up to Bitter Creek and have some fun. Carl made Bitter Creek available to the group, and they did enjoy that too. There's a few pictures. This is the excursion group, the speeder excursion group, enjoying an afternoon or a few hours at Bitter Creek. Okay, I said there'd be somewhere in here a good picture of how they get these cars off the trailer, and you can just see it's basically rails that are pulled out and dropped down from the trailer, or just pulled off the trailer and hooked onto the end, just to get it down to ground level. And then the tracks are right here, you can see on the far right here. So they just roll it down, kind of put it in place, and use either the handles or the turntable to swing it 90 degrees and set it down on the rails ready to go. Here's another picture of the carrying a bigger trailer, bigger car, as it sits when it arrives or when it's ready to take off. Here's some of the railroad folks and the Friends folks and whoever else is helping, reviewing the day's plans, who's going to cover what, crossings when, where we're going, where we're coming back, all that good stuff. This is probably the second, pictures from the second excursion during 2009 now that we're starting up. There's the safety briefing for this day. And there's the cars. These cars already on the rails, ready to go, doing all their checkouts, checklists, this, that, and the other. There's a Santa Maria Valley 70-tonner in the background, number 70 as it turns out. And on the right there, you can see one of that Southern Pacific caboose that I think is still at the museum, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see here. There's a group starting to get ready. Maybe they're already rolling, it looks like. I see smoke there behind that one. They're probably moving. There were cars on other sidings that would pull in right behind this group. It's kind of nice to have that much space to spread the people around while they're getting ready. And there they go. You see some nice clean images of some cars up close, and then almost as far as you can see down the path here, down the rails, the speeders are already out and about. Now here's a good picture of turning a car without a turntable. They're simply using the handles that, in this case, just the ones from the back. 3 guys can easily pick it up and turn it around. Another crossing. You can see again all the cars pulling up behind, the red flags. If you could see on the right-hand side of all these other cars, you would see red flags there too, because they're all signaling the people behind them about the fact that we're slowing down or stopping. And of course, again, another lunch. This was in the Betaravia office headquarters when the railroad was headquartered there. Of course, now they're downtown. Again, closer to downtown. But back in 2009, the headquarters was in Betaravia. And while we were in Betaravia, of course, the group took an opportunity to take Kevin's tour of Betaravia, which I think I put his guide map, see in his hand there and everybody else's hand, as links. You can see it on the entry for the Parlor Car Chats if you want to see that. And Kevin had previously marked out locations of interesting locations with these white posts. There's a number on the top, and those numbers correlate to descriptions and pictures on the guide sheet to show you what is there or was there at one point. That's a good after lunch activity before you have your afternoon, evening run. There's a good shot of the group in front of the sugar tanks. Bunch of kids over here. Definitely a family activity. There's number 70 in that caboose that we saw earlier. A little close-up shot of that. And now the cars are heading out. To the left is heading to the northwest towards Guadalupe. Often decorated with flags. I remember one, I don't know if there's a picture in it or not, a huge air horn whistle up on the top of the car. It was just like mega thing. And when that horn blew, man, you swore there was a huge UP train barreling down on you. It was pretty funny. There's Bill Schertle. He's one of the key Motorcar Operators West guys. Joining the group, heading out. Here's another good picture of what flagging looks like at a crossing. There's Gary flagging them across whatever road that is, I'm not sure. This is where approaching Pixweed is over here to the left. And a pretty major crossing. This is Main Street, I think. Here's another shot downtown, cruising along. Also downtown, heading towards the Oh, this is along the Air Base branch. I'm not sure which way they're going. I think maybe they're coming backwards. That seems a little odd. But anyway, the airport is way down out of the picture to the south. North is directly behind us. This is the east side of the Y, and up here is the west side of the Y. Yeah, they're definitely coming at us. I guess the white lights should have been a giveaway. A little more downtown. They're now on the main line, heading back west towards Betaravia and Guadalupe. Well, there's a kind of a unique way to carry one of these motor cars, not on a trailer, but in the back of a pickup. And you just provide rails that you can get the car down with. There's probably a winch in front of the car to help you get it down. I would hope. Otherwise, that might be a little on the dangerous side and a little tricky to manhandle that down the ramp. Utah Railway Company struck me as kind of an unusual road name to have on a motor car, so I snapped a picture. I don't think I'll use this picture as an example. Here we're setting on, getting ready to go. Families are gathering, passengers are buckling up, et cetera, et cetera. But I couldn't find I couldn't find a picture of it being used. But there are tow bars that everybody carries that can hook one motor car to another. It's basically a safety thing in case one motor car craps out on the excursion, and oftentimes you can be miles from anywhere, out in the middle of nowhere kind of locations, so that you can tow each other. And I think this is the hook for one of those tow bars here on the front of this car. It's sort of an embarrassing thing in a way if your car needs to be towed. So that's probably why I didn't take a picture of actual hook up towing thing. And come to think of it, I'm not even sure I can remember that happening on any of the excursions that I went on. But anyway, that is one of the things that they are capable of doing as well. Another safety briefing probably for the afternoon run. La Condesa was down here this year as well. Yeah, they're all lined up, ready to go. There's some of the beautiful scenery we caught that day. Must have been in the spring because the hills were beautifully green. That was pretty nice. There's another rail bus, a different one. Note that horn on top. That's probably pretty hefty too. But I think there's a picture. I think that's the one I was talking about. That air horn back there. That was a doozy. Well, there's a great view of a motor car turning on the turntable. This turntable is on a post that hydraulically can be raised and lowered. So you just make it go down. It pushes once it hits the ground, it pushes the car up. You spin it around on that spindle on that post and pull the turntable back up so that the car lowers back onto the rails. There's a little balancing act to this, making it happen correctly without getting things cattywampus. But obviously the turntable is in the center of the car, the center of gravity of the car. And as long as you don't load it crazy or something, it's really easy to turn those things. There's a couple of kids having a good time. One of the views from the speeders activity in the agricultural fields. Here we are heading down between Stockyard and Stock Pass. I think this is Greca Energy on the right in the distance. It's down a little ways there right along the tracks too. And let's see, where exactly is that? This is somewhere between Greca Energy and getting into in town along the main line, where obviously a lot of heavy equipment was stored. And it was kind of fun to stop here, get a drink of water, check out the equipment. This first car on the right, is the kind of odd-shaped one, is an all-electric speeder. That's pretty unusual. I think that might be the only one I've ever encountered in my few trips doing these excursions. And here's a picture of the battery motor compartment on that car. It obviously would draw a lot of attention because it's pretty unusual. And here's the controls for it. Note the Santa Maria Valley Railroad timetable that everybody was issued, so they would have some idea of where they were and so on. There's kind of a fun shot of one of the motor cars as seen through and underneath some big earth mover type piece of equipment out there. There's a crew. Oh, and note all the flags. Now we're on the right side of the car, as you can see all the flags out, telling each other that, hey, we're slowing down and or stopped at this crossing, no doubt. And I think some Santa Maria Valley Railroad people were activating the signals once all the cars were ready to go across. Remember I told you about the attraction these things can be? There's a bunch of kids on a rooftop or patio that came out to see what in the world are all these little cars running down the railroad. Here we are out on the air branch. Back in the day when I think this was a Angle and Gray siding along the air branch where the Santa Maria Valley Railroad Caboose 180, and I think this locomotive was the Union Sugar Switcher. Anyway, both of which are now at the what they call it, the transportation center that's along Miller Street, right across from the engine house downtown. There's I think those two pieces and a boxcar that are there now. This is same area, I think, looking the other direction, taking a break. There's that air horn I was talking about above the orange car. Fortunately, he didn't really blow it all that many times. There's just a kind of an artsy shot of the signal through the speeder. Here we are going past the Greca Energy racks where the tank cars would be pulled in on this siding to the left and do their thing. Another shot out along the fields in Betteravia area. Well, actually, that might be Stockyard and or Stock Pass, because there's Greca in the background. So maybe the Betteravia Junction is off to the right here, I'm thinking. And getting now close to home. The Betteravia headquarters, there's 70 sitting in the yard all day. Is in the distance of this picture, kind of in the trees. There gives you a rough idea of what a speeder size is compared to a Jeep 9 anyway. La Condesa down there still. This is another shot or two, or maybe just one, from the tours that Kevin would give. You can see again the brochure in everybody's hands. This was an old Pullman, obviously wooden Pullman car that was owned by the sugar mill folks, and just sat out there. I don't know if that car is still there or not. It was you can see on the side, Denver and Rio Grande. I don't remember the history of this car, or even if maybe anybody really knew of what the history of it was. There's a group headed off. There's Verlin and Bill Schertle and his grandson, I think. Bill's grandson. There's a group about to take off from in front of the old powerhouse for the sugar mill, this low flat building in between the lime tower in the back and one of the sugar tanks, silos on the left. Heading out. Well, that's kind of an artsy shot of the group coming down the tracks. And another one of the cars crossing. This is the Green Canyon Trestle again. Different car. Basically the same area, but this is right before the car is about to enter or go onto the trestle. So trestle's in the background or behind the camera. But those pretty flowers, that purple color was a nice addition to the photograph. This is a crossing. There's a crossing just in front of the three cars you see here. And here is that crossing. I think this is Ray Road. Gosh, it's amazing how quickly you forget the names of these roads that you slept about. Anyway, here you can see our flagger on the road, and obviously the signal had been activated by somebody of the Santa Maria Valley crew, and across they go. And now they've crossed that crossing, and they're headed on further into town. And here we are, pretty much all the way downtown. The railroad doesn't continue too much further beyond this in the distance along Jones Street. Another crossing downtown. You see all the flags out again. And that's it. Here's a reminder. Here's a place to donate in the upper left-hand corner if you feel so inclined to donate a little something to the Railroad Museum. Here's the address for the Parlor Car Chats page in the upper right. All the chats coming up and all the ones that have been recorded are on that page. If you have any suggestions for topics or want to offer to present a topic or anything along those lines, you can send an email to chats@SLORRM.com. And last but not least, the next Parlor Car Chat will be in 2 weeks. That seems to be the pattern that we're holding for the time being, on March 20th at 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. We will have changed to daylight time by then. I think that happens on the 14th or something like that. And the topic of the day will be a presentation by Glenn Madison called Lost in the Details. And it's basically a talk about the ins and outs, the measurements, the perspectives, the functions, etc. of a couple of railroading details: railroad gauge, railroad couplers, and railroad train brakes, air brakes. So be sure to tune in on March 20th for that talk by Glenn. Okay, let me and see if there's any questions anybody wants to ask or thing you want to mention.
Thanks, Jamie.
Hey, you betcha.
This is Bill.
Bill Schertle?
Bill Schertle, yeah, good.
Hey, thanks for joining us, guy.
good summary of all the good times we had up there. A lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. Yes, sirree.
Yeah, good. A lot of good photos, a lot of good memories.
Well, thanks for joining us, Bill. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for doing it.
You bet. Anybody else? Any questions?
Can my members access this if I send it to them?
Absolutely. In fact, Bill, I put on the MOW website a notice of this meeting with the link to it, and now that link will go to where the recording is rather than the live event. So yes, you feel free to spread the word.
Okay, I'll send a note to the members and let them know.
Okay.
Thanks, Jamie.
Hey, you bet, Bill.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Yeah, thanks, Jamie. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks for joining us.
Okay.
Okay, I guess that's it. Thank you much. We'll see you in a couple weeks when Glenn does his thing on the details of gauges, couplers, and brakes. Have a great Saturday.
Thanks. Have fun.
Bye.